What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be filming my vegan story. I've never done one of these kind of like sit down and like chat and just kind of like explain something about myself videos. So excuse me if my words get a little jumbly, and excuse me if my nose is stuffed right now, so I think my voice is a little bit like eh. But anyway, I just get a lot of questions a lot of times, like when I first tell someone that I'm vegan, and they have a lot of questions about like random things, and like the main one is to what kind of made you become a vegan. So I kind of want to just give you some background story and how my kind of like vegan journey began. So yeah, I'm just gonna jump right into it. I grew up in a family where my mom helped actually open up one of the first health food stores in my city, and we were always very health conscious, I guess you would say. When it came to like our groceries, we normally bought organic, and this was even back in like the early 90s, like kind of before it blew up into like what it is now. I would say it was kind of in the very beginning stages of everyone being very unhealthy. Or not the beginning stages, like that peak time when everyone didn't really care about health at all. And we got called the weirdos. Like we were definitely like in that time where it was before it was popular. But we bought everything very organic. My mom was very health conscious with us. Even when we went to my grandmother's house, she followed my grandmother on giving us things like donuts and stuff like that. So we grew up kind of, I think, knowing what most kids did, at least in my time growing up. So we kind of always questioned it. I think me and my sister, we were always, kind of like, what's, the best thing to put in our bodies. That's kind of how we viewed it, instead of just like what tastes good as a kid even, which was very helpful. And I'm very thankful to my mom for giving that to me. But then as I grew up, I'll save it for a different video if I decide to do it, but I suffered with different eating disorders. We definitely have more of a fuller kind of build in my family, I guess you could say, from my mom and my dad's side. We definitely have bigger people, I guess you could say. It runs in our family. So I think I do kind of believe that people can be predisposed for things like that, weight gain and things. So growing up, like I said, I was very small, and then we had a couple summers that we spent with my grandmother, and after that I kind of ballooned up. I was a chubby kid. For sure, growing up, I was a very chubby kid. And I didn't care at first, and then I reached an age where I started to care, and I developed a couple of different eating disorders. And it's one of those things where once I think it's in you, I think it's always going to be there. I think that, you learn to control it, and you learn to kind of, let loose with it a little bit. But I think it's always there. Once you kind of start to think that way, it's always going to be there a little bit. So that was something that I struggled with for a really long time. And then of course it went through kind of like the crash diets. It went through, everything that like the paleo diet, or, the just whatever, it was like anytime you hear something that's like, this works, it's like you jump on that bandwagon. And I definitely went through that, especially in my kind of like later teenage years. And especially when I got out on my own, it was like, there was this, I think that people just don't necessarily look into it as much as maybe some do. And even looking into it, I was eating the Greek yogurt and all these things that you hear are really healthy for you, and then the more you actually look into it, you start to realize that it's actually not so true. So that's kind of like my background story. I was around some vegans. I knew about it a couple years before I decided to go vegan, and then once I did, it's just kind of an immediate thing. I feel like you start to feel such a difference. I think mentally you feel better. I think physically, obviously, you feel a lot better, at least for me and most other vegans I've ever talked to. But I think the biggest thing that, like I said, mentally, actually for me, I started to feel a lot better, because for me, I did it for weight loss. It was the main reason I did it. And to be fair, it does help with maintaining weight. You get to eat bigger bulks of food. I mean, you obviously can't eat whatever you want. Things like oils are vegan, and that's one of the most calorie dense foods on the planet. So obviously you can't just ingest whatever you want and just constantly eat whatever you want. You do still have to be mindful. But for the most part, fruits and vegetables are going to be a huge part of your diet, because it's what's left to eat. So naturally you start to actually just maintain your weight better, I think, as long as you're being semi-conscious of what you're putting in your body. But like I was saying, mentally, I think what's so amazing about it is that I think that, especially in this day and age, I feel like everything that we do, not everything, most things that we do on a daily basis, I feel like we're very removed, and we don't really know exactly what's going behind it. Like, you pull up to a McDonald's and you order a cheeseburger and they give it to you, and you have no idea where it came from. You have no idea what preparation went behind it. And I think that it's just, I don't want to say it's bad, but I think that it's good to be plugged in to know the things that you're putting in your body, where they're coming from. I think that, you know, one of the weirdest things since going vegan that I see, you know, I pass no judgment on people that are not vegan. I'm not someone that's super critical. I know that they can be out there, and I know that vegans get a really bad rep. But if a vegan's ever trying to say something, or if they're ever trying to, like, you know, promote an idea, it's basically because we all came from, for the most part, I mean, some people were raised completely vegan, but for the most part, most of us came from, you know, a standard American diet, and we were used to, you know, eating all those foods and feeling a certain way. And it's like, we didn't know any different until, you know, we switched to this lifestyle too. So it just, it's funny because I've been around people before where, like, I've been eating like a vegetable hot dog, which is just made of, you know, vegetables and soy proteins and things like that. And it tastes pretty similar. It's not the exact, but it's pretty similar. And I'll be eating it around someone who's eating like a normal hot dog, and they'll be like, "Ooh, that's so gross. Like, that's so nasty. I couldn't ever imagine eating that." And it's like, I look over and they're eating a hot dog, and it's like, you know, it's blended up pig intestines and chicken feet and things like that. And it's like, it's just funny because, you know, mine is gross and theirs is fine because it's a cultural thing. It's how you're raised up. So, you know, going back to, it's just raising the awareness of, or it's just different, it's just a different way of thinking, you know, and it really comes down to it. It's just kind of like, you know, maybe changing the way you think about something. It's not necessarily bad thinking about it in a different light. So it really just comes down to the awareness. It comes down to, you know, making the connection of what's behind your food. And, you know, it's just, it's the same thing when it comes to, you know, people get so angry when, you know, a lion gets shot or a gorilla gets shot, but, you know, people know that, you know, hundreds of thousands of chickens are dying every single day, and it's like, that's fine. I just, in my opinion, I just don't think that it's right that we get to pick and choose. I think that if you're going to fight for one animal's life, you should be fighting for, you know, all the animals' lives, and I don't think it should be up to us. But that is just my opinion. But I think, you know, if you couldn't go out and kill that cow or kill that chicken, then I don't think you should be eating it yourself, because to me, that's just not right. It's not morally right. And I think it's where a lot of the disconnect comes in. It's like I was saying, I feel mentally much better because, you know, I was like 14 or 15 when I had the first video experience of seeing how a chicken was killed, and I cried for, you know, a long, long time about it, and I got so upset about it. And then it was like after a month passed, I kind of just like put it away, and I didn't want to think about it anymore, so I didn't. So when I went vegan, it was like, because I knew that these bad things were happening and I just wanted to ignore them, it made me mentally feel healthier because I felt good about what I was eating, and I didn't have to feel guilty anymore, like, because it was in my brain, it was back there, and I knew that it happened, and I just didn't want to accept it or think about it. So knowing that I wasn't supporting that cause anymore or creating any more, you know, need for that kind of industry, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel happy to know that. So mentally I feel good, and then obviously there's the physical reasons too, which that's, you know, an infinite amount that I could go on about. But, you know, for vegans, it's like if they ever seem like they're being pushy, at least for me, I never bring up veganism to people if they don't want to hear my point or don't want to hear me talk about things. Like, I let people come to me and ask me before I ever say anything. But if I ever seem passionate about it, at least for me personally, it's because it's made me feel so great. And it's like, you know, if you had some magical pill that you took that made you feel 100 times better, you'd be shouting it from the rooftops, you know? So it's like, for me, I want other people to feel as good as I do. And I know that if people wouldn't have told me about this lifestyle, then I wouldn't have done it personally. So I think it's important to, you know, just make people aware. And it's not about the judgment, and it's not about making people feel guilty for not doing what you're doing. I totally understand that. It's about, you know, it's about getting that message out to people so that if they're struggling with the same things that I did and we're feeling the same way that I did, you know, letting them have the knowledge so that if it's something that works for them, that they get a chance to try it. At least that's how I view it, and just making people aware of the benefits. So anyway, that's for the most part, that's my vegan story. I could get way more in depth about it. I could kind of like go into more details, but I don't want to make this too heavy of a video. I just want it to like answer a few questions maybe, or like make a few, you know, just points, because I get these kind of questions a lot. And yeah, I might go into like a little bit further of a thing about the whole eating disorder, but you know, I might not, I don't know. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it maybe gave you a little bit of knowledge about something you might not know. And I really wasn't meaning to offend anyone with everything I said, anything I said. It is all just my opinion, you know, it's not meant to offend anybody. So anyway, just promoting the, you know, happy people, happy animals, happy earth kind of message is really all I've ever tried to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.